big news finally came. UFC 300 has a main event.
Yo, what is up, guys? It is Lucky Punch, and today we're going to be going over possibly one of the best cards in UFC history, UFC 300, and I'm going to be covering every single fight. So let's get into it. And I am going to be going over every fight faster because obviously I'm going over every single fight. But the first is a banger on the prelims, a bantamweight matchup between Davison Figueiredo versus Cody No Love Garbrandt, the definition of a glass cannon and someone who looked like the greatest fighter in the UFC for about 15 minutes. But he is the definition of a glass cannon. He gets cracked all the time, and Figueiredo looks amazing at bantamweight, just like how he dominated at flyweight. He can prove himself to be championship caliber, which is why he's a minus 340 favorite. He looked great against Rob Font. His power is good. He looks big enough. He's filling out the frame at bantamweight. And Cody Garbrandt is trying to get his UFC revival and get some love again. So I think he shouldn't get dropped instantly and try and drag the fight out and see if he can have a chance. But I like Figueiredo's chances as the heavy favorite. And another banger of a fight on the prelims, a lightweight matchup at the bottom of the rankings between Bobby King Green and Jim effing Miller. I hope Bruce Buffer says that. But Bobby Green is the hood style fighter versus Jim Miller as the wrestler. And they're both old. There's 67 UFC fights between the two, which is an absurd number. But Bobby Green should come back from the dead. He looked great against Tony Ferguson, which might be because how bad Tony really is now, but he almost got murdered by Jalen Turner, and I think this is his chance against another veteran to fight his fight and retire Jim Miller, where I think Jim Miller can also put Bobby Green into retirement, and he can get his chance to fight and win at 100, 200, and UFC 300. So I like both of their chances. Bobby Green with his low style boxing where he drops his hands didn't work against Turner. It could work against Miller, but I think Miller could exploit that, so I like both chances here. And now we have our first women's matchup at strawweight, where Jessica Batistaka Andrade versus Marina Stop the Fight Rodriguez. Two Brazilians are going off in the strawweight matchup near the top of the rankings, where Andrade's coming off a win versus Dern, and Marina Rodriguez also had a huge win against Gomez, where they should have stopped the fight much earlier than they did. But I think this could be a big chance for both of them to make a run for the belt, and I think Andrade should look for a finish, whereas Rodriguez should control the striking, make Andrade fight her fight, and this will be a close matchup. I like both of their aggression, and both fighters are older in their career, but I like Andrade's chances of being the more aggressive fighter. And now another banger heavy matchup in the lightweight division near the bottom of the rankings is Jalen the Tarantula Turner versus Renato Money Moicano, and this is another huge and exciting fight where both of these guys became huge prospects seemingly out of nowhere, where Turner almost killed Bobby Green, as I mentioned earlier, and Moicano had a great durable fight against Drew Dober, one of the hardest hitters in the division, where he showed his toughness. But both of these guys are making runs up the rankings out of nowhere, where they were not in this place a year ago. But I think Turner should use his reach and overwhelm Moicano and shoot for another huge flash and early KO, and that would be a great way to burn through Money Moicano and even further his hype. Whereas Moicano should show up his durability. That hit that almost killed Bobby Green hopefully shouldn't knock down Moicano, and I think he should derail the hype train and use his great grappling to win the fight and make the upset. And continuing with this amazing card, a featherweight matchup of two more prospects, Sodiq Super Yusuff and Diego No Regrets Lopes. Two guys coming off bangers, where Yusuff fought Barbosa, where he dominated the first round but lost the fight, and then Lopes fought Evlaev and Sabatini, where he looked amazing in both fights and showing off his amazing grappling, which can compete with Yusuff's great striking. And I think Yusuff needs to be perfect on the ground, because Lopes has amazing grappling and he'll be ready for the finish, and Yusuff should make him fight him on the feet and show off his striking and KO a super hyped prospect as the underdog. But Lopes can take control, take it slow, and get a new haircut, and we could easily see him submitting Yusuff. And another great fight in the bantamweight women's division between Holly, the preacher's daughter Holm, versus Kayla Doug Harrison. And obviously Holly Holm is known for beating Ronda Rousey with that crazy KO, and Kayla Harrison is one of Rousey's former training partners, and she has an amazing record in the PFL, but she's gonna have to cut a lot of weight for this fight. So I think it's gonna be huge for Holm. Just pretend it's Rousey out there and keep the distance on the feet, show off your boxing range and your boxing history, and pull off another huge upset where I think Harrison could easily dominate the whole fight, get the fight to the ground, and show off her UFC potential on her feet and on the ground. She has great judo skills with her takedowns, and she should easily call out the top of the division and make a huge run here. And now a featherweight matchup between Calvin, the Boston finisher, Kattar, versus Aljamain, the Funk Master, Sterling. And now he's obviously moving up to featherweight after his Sugar Sean beat down at bantamweight to lose the belt. But Aljo is still a force to be reckoned with, and he can win his first fight at featherweight. And this could be a big chance to show off his grappling, because Kattar has an amazing chin.
He's even listening to the commentary team. The best boxer you see, baby. Right hand.
And Aljo's obviously after Sean might not be as good. So this is a big chance for both of these guys to get both of their hype back. Kattar has a great chin, a great striker, and Aljo can make everyone forget about the O'Malley loss and get back to where he once was. And now our last fight on the prelims is a huge matchup in the light heavyweight division between Yuri BJP Prochazka versus Alexander the Rocket Rakic. And both of these guys are up and coming light heavyweight prospects, and for some reason Jerry lost a lot of his hype. Maybe it was the Poeton KO loss, but he has a ton of power, and a year or two ago he was one of the most hyped up UFC fighters. So this is a good win to build up his UFC resume, and for some reason he's an underdog now, so I think that's great odds to look at, because Rakic is a great fighter who can draw the fight out and get the biggest and most hyped win of his career as the favorite here. And now the first fight on the main card of UFC 300 is the heavy favorite, Bo the Pistol Nickal versus Cody the Can Brundage. And obviously, Bo is a huge favorite. He's 2-0 in the UFC after the Jamie Pickett and the Val Woodburn wins. And after his complete college wrestling career, he's moving over to MMA. So he should show off on the biggest card he'll ever fight on, both his stand-up and his wrestling skills, fight a complete fight, and try and finish Cody. Whereas Cody should aim for an early finish. It might be his only chance, and I think he should try not to get embarrassed. But Bo is the heavy favorite for a reason. And now a huge matchup in the lightweight division. The former champ Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira, the number 1 ranked contender, versus the number 4 ranked prospect Arman Ahlakalakalit. I know I got that right. Tsarukyan, the number 4 ranked prospect, and he is younger at 27, but this is going to be a banger of a fight. Both of these guys fought Islam. Obviously, Oliveira lost to Islam, and Tsarukyan held his own in his first UFC fight against Islam, showing off his great wrestling. So this will be huge to continue his crazy run and maybe even start his title run after this fight if he wins. And Oliveira needs to put everything on the line. He needs to watch out for the early power. He's probably getting dropped round 1 like he usually does. But I think, as the underdog, he can rally back and get his belt back. He might even surprise people with his power.
Turn it up!
Oh, okay.
And now the first title fight out of 3 on the card is the BMF title fight taking place at lightweight between Justin the Highlight Gaethje and Max Blessed Holloway. And this is going to be a banger of a fight. 2 of the best boxers in the UFC. Gaethje's coming off his huge head kick KO to Dustin Poirier. And Max Holloway's last fight at lightweight was against Dustin Poirier, where he did lose on decision. But I think he can make it a chess match. fight his fight and keep his distance, and don't try and outbox Justin in the pocket. Whereas the same advice goes to Justin. He might get another huge KO, but be very careful with Max's striking and send him back down to featherweight. Max struggled in the past moving up, but both of these guys are amazing strikers. So it might come down to raw power, which I would give Gaethje the edge on. And I don't think this fight goes past 3 rounds, and it is a 5-round fight. And now the women's strawweight title fight between Zhang Magnum Weili and Yan Nine Xiaonan. A huge fight and a banger, whereas Zhang Weili has dominated the strawweight division, only losing in the UFC twice to Rose, but she's had a crazy run in the UFC, and I think she can dominate early, where she just came off a 292 thrashing of Lemos, where she dominated the entire fight, and she can do a lot of damage striking, but also get the other fighter to the ground and do even more damage. So I think she should finish the fight and don't let the judges decide. Whereas Yan should be careful not to get stuck on the canvas, don't get thrown down on bottom. She needs to fight a perfect fight and make every exchange even, getting in exactly what she's getting out of every fight. And as the heavy underdog here, she needs a perfect fight to win. And now the main event, what you've all been waiting for, a light heavyweight title fight between Alex Poatan Pereira, who's been dominating in his UFC run, against the #1 challenger who relinquished the belt, Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. And both of these guys have 6 wins and 1 loss in the UFC, and Alex is going to want to get revenge for Glover. Jamal Hill won the belt by beating up Glover in a 5-round fight, and he dominated on the feet and beat up Glover bad, which is Alex's mentor. And Hill gave up the belt when he hurt his Achilles, and he has looked a little out of shape, a little fat some would say, and he could get fraud checked here. He's been calling Izzy for help, Alex's lifelong rival. And Hill tends to attack in a straight line, swinging wildly with not great footwork, and he's going to want to fight in the pocket, inside, and get his belt back. Whereas Alex wants to get revenge for Glover, and I think he should stick to his bread and butter, let Hill walk right into him, right into the path of his left hook. His stone hands can drop Hill, but he shouldn't look past Jamal Hill. I'm very high on Hill, higher than most people are. After the Glover fight, I liked him a lot. He is the slight underdog, and people shouldn't underestimate him, but Alex's striking seems like a perfect matchup to knock down and beat Jamal Hill and get the belt. And now, before I get into the Lucky Punch Award show, I'll be going over my past picks so you guys can give me a little bit of credibility, and my lock of the night, where I pick someone who I think is guaranteed to win. If you need to bet something, you're losing your house, you need to get some money fast, you bet on my lock of the night. I'm 5-1 thanks to Neil Magny, but my main card picks are 17, 11, and 1, and hopefully I can improve that record because I'm going to count every fight on 300, not just the main card picks. And now going over my official picks for the entire card. I'll go through this fast, but starting off, I'm taking Figueiredo. He looks great at bantamweight, and I think he'll crack the glass cannon. And then my first underdog, Jim Miller. I like Bobby Green a lot, but I think that loss to Jalen Turner might have effectively ended his career. And then I'm taking Jessica Andrade. I like her power a lot and aggression against Rodriguez. And Money Moicano. I like his toughness and his durability, and I think he might fraud check Turner, who might be a little overrated. And then Diego Lopes is a great grappler, and I think he'll be able to out-grapple and submit Yusuff on the ground. And then going to Kayla Harrison, I think we'll just be able to dominate Holly Holm. And I think Aljo will get back in the win column and probably submit Kattar. And then another underdog with Jerry Prochazka, who I'm surprised is an underdog, but I think he will KO Rakic. And then Bo Nickal as the heavy favorite. I think he just gets the easy win, probably round 1. And Charles Oliveira. Tsarukyan is not to be messed with. He's a great fighter. He had a crazy KO against Beneil Dariush, but I think Oliveira makes a huge comeback like he always seems to do. And then the first title fight, I think Justin Gaethje's power is going to be too much for Max, even though they both have great boxing. And then I think Zhang Weili is just too powerful for Xiaonan, and I think she will also finish her. And then continuing with my streak of finishes, I don't think there will be a lot of decisions on 300. It's going to be a lot of bangers. So I'm taking Alex to KO Hill. As Hill walks forward into Pereira's reach, he'll get hit with that stone-handed left hook from Pereira and get dropped probably round 3. And now for the Lucky Punch Award show, the first pick is the lock of the night, the heavy favorite 1350 Bo Nickal.
Listen, Al-Gaib!
I'm no Lisan Al-Gaib, but I think that Bo Nickal will dominate Cody Brundage any way he wants. And now for the punchline of the night, I think Pereira is going to run through another division. He dominated middleweight, and now I think he's going to dominate and make another run at light heavyweight after knocking out Jamal Hill.
This is Sparta!
And then the final pick is the Punch Bowl, and I'm giving the trophy to Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. There's no way this fight isn't a banger. Justin Gaethje sent Dustin Poirier to the Shadow Realm with his kick, and I think this is going to be a banger between two warriors in Gaethje versus Holloway, where I think Gaethje will come out victorious. And so that will conclude my UFC 300 card overview. Thank you guys for watching, because I'm going over the entire card for the first time. So definitely comment down below about your picks. There's a lot more than usual, so you guys should have something to argue with me about, or if you agree with me. But comment anything, videos you want to see in the future. Definitely leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. It helps the channel a lot, and see you next time.